guys, this is the Retro Flora podcast. I'm Brenda.
And I'm Charmy, and we're just two crazy sisters with an opinion and a channel.
If you like true crime, conspiracy, and supernatural shit, then this is your channel. Alright, you guys, so today we have a true crime.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's really disturbing, and there's going to be a lot of trigger warnings in this case. The trigger warnings are going to be for rape and sexual assault, and that's just for right now. Once I get deeper into the story, I will announce trigger warning, and I understand if you do not want to listen to it. We'll put like a timestamp basically so that you can skip over or skip through it if you don't want to hear the gory details. So I'm just letting you know this case is definitely upsetting. So I guess we can just jump right in.
Let's get into it.
Lavena Johnson was born July 27, 1995 in Florissant, Missouri to parents Dr. John Johnson and Linda Johnson. Lavena had 4 siblings. She was an honor student and graduated from Hazelwood Central High School. Lavena told her parents she wanted to join the U.S. military. Lavena's father was a retired Army vet, and both he and Mrs. Johnson had a civilian job in troop support for the Army. Her parents told her that they didn't have a problem paying for college, but Lavena wanted to go to school in California to be a movie producer. She knew going to school out of state was going to be expensive, and she didn't want to be a burden on her family. Lavena joined the Army and was a private first class. In 2005, she was deployed to Iraq and worked in the communications building. She called and wrote home frequently. She almost always sounded positive in her letters. However, she did mention in her letters the disrespect happening at the base. She said her fellow soldiers would refer to female soldiers as just females, female warriors, and soul, which is half a soldier.
What?
Yeah.
It's just shocking. Like, we're both from the same army, we're both fighting on the same side, and we're just not treated equally, men and women.
It's like, how you the op, but then I gotta go fight the op. Like,
yeah.
It's too many ops right now. Like... On July 14th, 2005, Lavena called her dad. She told him that she was locking up the communication building and had told her fellow soldiers that they had to leave, but they would not listen to her. She then said her general came in and kicked the soldiers out. He was more upset with her than he was with the other soldiers, and he told her she was too soft-spoken and nobody would listen to her. I don't know, that kind of upset me because it's like, I know that she needs to be more stern, but... if you should be telling them, like, you need to respect her. She is closing.
Yeah.
She, you know what I mean? And not be like, well, you should have did this, this, and this. Like, no, tell them they need to be obedient to whoever they are supposed to be obedient to.
Yeah, they're in the wrong.
Right.
This doesn't matter if she's soft-spoken.
Right. Get out. Lavena's father was upset because he believed the general should not have been speaking to a private like that. He was worried about Lavena and told her to get a battle buddy. So basically a battle buddy is like someone who's with you at all times and has your back in and out of combat.
Oh, okay.
Lavena told him she didn't feel comfortable asking for one because she didn't want to seem like she needed help. Her father told her she needed to do this, so he would give her some time, but if she didn't do it, he would ask for one on her behalf. It would later come to light that one of the reasons Lavena might not have wanted a battle buddy was because she was recently sexually assaulted and was being treated for an STD. It is unknown who assaulted her or if it was even reported because there are no documents on that incident. Lavena was trying her best to lay low, but her dad knew something was going on to where she didn't feel safe. July 17th, 2005 would be the last time Lavena would talk to her family. She told her parents she might be home early around Christmas time and for them not to decorate the tree until she got there.
That's so sad.
It is sad.
I just can't get past, like, this is the country that you fight for and they're not even having your back.
Right, like you're really...
Like, you trained in this and, like, no, you can't trust nobody. Yeah. Even your own comrades.
July 19th, 2005, at 7 a.m., Lavena's family would get a knock on the door. A soldier told them Lavena was dead. Her dad didn't understand how that could have happened since Lavena was not in active combat. When he asked how she died, the soldier accidentally let it slip that she had taken her own life. Lavena's dad then asked if he was saying that she killed herself, to which the soldier started to backtrack. Her dad knew that they were hiding something and he wanted to get to the bottom of it. What sucks about that was I read that when that news was told to her parents that her mom just like screamed out in pain and was crying And her dad even said, like, he had to push his feelings aside because he really wanted to get down to the bottom of this.
And to know what happened.
Yeah, because for her to die and not be in active combat is wild.
Her last message to them was her happy and wanting to be there to, you know,
for Christmas. Like, she was coming home early. Yeah. So it's like, for you to sit here and say, like, oh yeah, she killed herself, but I literally just talked to her 2 days ago and she was in great spirits. And I know that people who come to peace with suicide do that a lot, but there was like no signs leading up to this.
And also they usually say goodbye, or like they're also being like very loving and like to that, like, oh, I love you so much and stuff like that. But that was not what she said.
Yeah.
She said, I'll see you.
Right.
I mean, she intends on sticking around.
Right. The following day, Lavena's parents received a phone call from the U.S. Army. They claimed that the day of Lavena's death was just a normal day for her. She had locked up around 4 or 5 p.m., and it was assumed she walked to her physical training because she was wearing her training clothes. When she didn't show up, someone went looking for her. She was eventually found in a contractor's room lying on her back in a pool of her own blood with her arm covering her face. Okay, so there's a picture of the crime scene, and it has Lavena's body in it, so I'm not going to show that, but I will describe it. But I also will put a drawing of the crime scene up so, like, you can kind of gauge and kind of see what I'm talking about. But if you want to see the actual crime scene photos, they're not hard to find. You just need to type in her name and they will pop up. But they are very, like, graphic, so I would not recommend that. So basically, Lavena is laying on her back with one arm across her face. And by the arm that's crossed is a bunch of burned papers. An aerosol can is by her leg and a medical bag is by her feet. Then her other arm is stretched out and there's a cot next to that arm. On the other side of the cot is an M16 rifle, which doesn't make sense how that rifle is on the other side of the cot.
If she used it on herself.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is, it's messy. And usually, I know it's very stereotypical, when women kill themselves, it's very clean.
Yeah, it is. I actually was looking into that.
Because they think about the cleanup.
Yeah, they think about
who's going to find my body,
right,
and what my body's going to present it like. So this just looks weird to me.
Yeah.
Most guys wouldn't care. They would do that.
Yeah, most women do commit suicide, like, with pills and poison. Yeah, so it is very, I mean, and I get it, like, if you're in army, you obviously have access to guns, but just the placement of the gun don't make sense to me, because how can you, like, shoot yourself and throw the gun on the other side?
Yeah.
The army did an autopsy and ruled Lavena's death a suicide. The army concluded that she took her notes her boyfriend of 6 months gave her and burned them. She then put the M16 rifle in her mouth and shot herself. Mind you, Lavena is 5'1". And I looked up the length of the M16 rifle, and it's 39 inches, or like 3 feet and 2.5 inches. So there's no way she put that gun in her mouth and pulled the trigger. Because, like,
her arms wouldn't reach.
Her arms wouldn't reach. And it's not like she could, even if she used her foot, bro, in the photo, she has shoes on. So I'm sitting here like, she did not put that in her mouth. And you guys know it.
But also, why would she be burning those notes?
Supposedly, they're saying that, like, her and her boyfriend got into it and she burned them and killed herself because of that. The army sent Lavena's body home and recommended to the family they do a closed casket funeral because her body was in bad shape. The family decided to do an open casket funeral anyway, and Lavena's father noticed her face was in good condition for someone who used an M16 rifle to shoot themselves.
Yeah, there would be nothing left. That gun is huge.
Yeah, I
compared to her?
Yeah, there is no way that happened. Okay, so trigger warning. I'm about to go into some graphic details. Lavena's father noticed a few things. Lavena's nose looked like it was broken and shifted to the side. It looked like someone tried to pop it back in place. She had small cuts and bruises around her face and lips. Her teeth were loose as if she was punched. There was a small gunshot wound, believed to be a 9mm, to the left side of her head, and Lavena was right-handed. There was no mention of a 9mm in her autopsy report. Her gloves were glued to her hands, and when the family asked why this was done, the funeral director said he had no idea. There was no rape kit or fingernail testing done. The family knew that this was a cover-up.
And not a very good one.
No, and you guys, this is just so wild to me that I'm literally reading this, because the fact that there's a small gunshot wound, and believed to be a 9mm, which is far less smaller than a M16 rifle.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a red flag. And then we have the fact that her teeth are loose in her mouth, like
someone beat her up.
Right. And then her nose, and to top it all off, the fact that her gloves were glued to her hand is just so disturbing.
Like, how does that go with the whole suicide thing?
It doesn't. And it looks like you're covering up evidence by gluing the gloves on her hands.
Yeah.
The family decided to hire a criminal investigator. They knew they were going up against the U.S. Army, and they knew that the Army would not give over all the documents without a court order. The Army did hand over some documents that contained crime scene photos, but they were low quality, grainy, and in black and white. In the documents, the family found out that there was no gunpowder on her hands. There was also a random page with a Xerox copy of a CD-ROM. Although that could have been a mistake, the family believed it was a clue. The family began to fight to get the CD-ROM. So there's no gunpowder on her hands.
Also, what year is this?
This is 2005.
And you got grainy pictures in black and white? You ain't got no HD pictures? That don't make no sense.
They got good pictures. They're just not going to give them to them. Because they're really trying to cover this up.
Like, and it's like, who are you trying to protect?
That is the good question.
Like, is it someone, like, higher up?
Right. But just seems like a lot of work went into this cover-up. The Army claimed they couldn't release the CD-ROM because it had other people's names and confidential information on it. They believed the people had a right to privacy. But the family believed they had the right to this information because it could have the names of the people who could have been involved in Lavena's death. The Army told the family that if they wanted the CD-ROM, they would have to get a court order. So the family went to Congressman Lacy Clay, and 2 years later, they finally got the CD-ROM.
2 years?
2 years. Trigger warning. On the CD-ROM, they had pictures in color of the crime scene. They also had photos of Lavena's body, her surroundings, and the gun. They had pictures of Lavena's body laid out naked before and after the autopsy. Her body had bruises and small cuts, and you could see that she was hit with a blunt object. Her elbow was popped out of place, and her backside was covered in mud, dirt, and debris, as if she was dragged. There were also pictures of blood outside the tent.
Which goes against the suicide claim.
Yeah, that's why they didn't want to hand that CD-ROM over.
Like, at this point, there should be an investigation.
I agree.
It should have been at the beginning, but...
Right. This next part is a major trigger warning. You guys, this part is really graphic. Like I said, there will be a timestamp on here if you don't want to hear this, but please understand that this is very graphic. Major trigger warning. The images of Lavena's undressed body showed even more injuries. She had burns on her hands and back as if someone tried to burn her. There was bruising on her stomach. It looked like somebody kicked her. There was acid poured over her private parts. Her tongue, anus, and parts of her vagina were cut out, which was not included in the original autopsy report. The reason parts of her vagina were cut out was because wound stat was poured inside. So wound stat is basically a liquid that's poured into a wound, and it hardens and prevents bleeding and blood loss. The only way to remove it is it has to be surgically removed. So would explain why it was cut out of her. The family believed that it was used on Lavena to cover up evidence.
This is just...
Girl, when I read this, I literally cried because I can't believe that they would go to that extent to cover up her murder.
And the amount of pain she suffered.
They beat the hell out of this girl. They dragged her through the mud. There's blood all in front of the tent. And you're really gonna sit here in our faces, in the family's faces, and disrespect them by saying she committed suicide? Like, that is ridiculous. All this evidence.
And the government still wonders why we don't trust them. Yeah. And this is why. Because y'all cover it up.
Yeah, there's no way.
You're protecting, like, these evil people.
It just sucks because I just feel like this case did not get the attention that it deserved.
The family didn't get the closure. No one got...
Lavena didn't get justice. Mm-hmm. These pieces of shits got away. Like,
how can they sleep at night knowing what they did?
I don't know. I'm speechless, you guys. This is wild. Like, this is scary. Like, why would I want to go risk my life for this country and y'all treating people like this?
Your own citizens.
And I'm not saying, like, I have nothing against, like, the U.S. Army. Well, I got some stuff against the U.S. Army. But I understand having an army that's meant to protect people, but you need to protect your fellow soldiers, too.
As well.
Yeah, and there should be no reason why this was covered up at all. Like, I'm sorry, but if this is the type of person you are, then you need to go to jail or hell. Oh, you guys, this is a wild case. This case really upset me, and there was no good outcome. Like, the family never got justice. Like, this just is ridiculous. Like, they have to literally live the rest of their lives knowing that people did this to their precious daughter and got away. And they get to continue their lives and have families while this family has to pick up the pieces of what happened. And I know this case happened like almost 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years.
And still nothing. So I was looking around and I saw that there's a petition out to reopen her case. So I'm going to put the link down below, you guys. And please sign and spread this petition. I know it will mean the world to the family.
Yeah, so they can bring justice and peace to Lavena.
Well, you've made it to the end.
You must really like the sounds of our high-pitched voices and quirky commentary.
You might as well like and subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to be notified every time we drop new content.
Bye!
Peace!